Hello, everybody. Hi, Ambreen. I am so excited to have you on the Muslimah Entrepreneur Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's such an honor to be here with you. So I've been excited for this episode.
Oh, listen, I'm excited to let people know more about your work and basically also myself know more about you and what you do 100% and what was your journey. It's always, such a pleasure to shed a light on another Muslim women that is doing great for our community and for the planet Earth in general, let's say, it right. So I'm super
Yeah.
super super excited. If you can start first of all by introducing yourself and let us know who is Ambreen and what you do.
So who is Ambreen? That's such a deep question. Who is like an Ambreen? Who am I? You know, I would just focus on the professional side of me. Introduce myself as that because when I take deeper, it will be like a whole episode about who I am.
Right, whatever you want
So,
to share. Yes.
so So I am Ambreen and I'm a business and leadership coach. I have been into coaching field since 2012. I am also a trainer of neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, and I work with women of color where I help them to become more bold, visible on the online platform, and also how to get paid. Lots of time, women of color, they struggle when it comes to, their offers, when it comes to their, when it comes to money. So I help them to overcome their generational money trauma, so they can step into their best version and be that awesome woman. And yeah, that's what I work with.
I love it. So basically, a business coach, and you're working with women of color. And it's interesting that you're talking about the money trauma because I mean, I haven't used this word regarding the narrative about money that us, like women of color have. The trauma is much more stronger because I always say, oh, we have money blockages and like a mindset barriers around money, and it's true, we do have them, but you go back further into like the trauma. Can you tell us more about that? I think this is really useful.
Yeah, because what I've seen in coaching industry, and especially as a woman of color, not only working with different backgrounds of women of color, I've seen one thing that goes on over and over again is that money blocks, right? But when I dig them deeper, it's not just blocks, it's trauma they have experienced in their childhood because it's traumatic for a child. We all know that how how difficult it can be to be when your parents immigrate to a new country, even you are first or second or third generation, you still have that mindset going on in your family, like money is hard. Or my father, like if I share my own example, my father used to work twice. He went out working in a fabric, and then in the evening he was working another job as a cleaner, right? So even though when back in Pakistan, he was highly educated, he was an officer in a military, but coming to Norway, when he immigrated, he started working in the fabric and in the evening he was working as a cleaner. And I'm so proud of him because lots of time people get like, oh, I'm not going to share that my father that he worked as a cleaner because we have like no status thing going on. But I'm proud of him that he provided for us, not only for us but also for his family. So the stories I listened was like, oh, we need to save, we need to save. There were always things going on. And when I speak to another, other women of color, and I see the same story with different colors are going in their unconscious mind, where they have accepted somehow money is hard. You have to work hard to earn money. You are not worthy of money. Even if it's money, you don't know how to save that money because you come from a scarcity mindset. You end up just saying, oh, I have money now. Let me buy a branded shoes, let me buy a branded purse or a bag, because you put yourself out there that you're doing so well in social media. We follow different gurus who are portraying themselves as experts sitting on the beach and with their laptop having vodka, whatever drink, and you think that this is the dream. I want to work on the beach, but believe me, it's not easy to sit on a beach and work. I did that in the summer, and I said, okay, let me like now take my laptop to the beach. And I was like, oh my God, like people are missing out the beach. The beach is in front of you and you're sitting there and like writing your content. Who does that, man? Like, come on. Enjoy the present moment. Enjoy that your kids are playing. I'm just gonna say, who the hell wants to sit on a beach and do the work? No. But this is the picture we see on social media where like sitting on the beach and it's so like kind of nice. I'm like, no, I don't want to be there. Even though when I started coaching, that was like, oh, I want to have a beach office, sit there, it will be so nice. And then you say like, hey, this is not, because you're distracted by other distracted by people running, you are distracted by lots of things going on. And I'm like, no, 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 I don't want to do that. So the money trauma, if you go back to that, is the stories you have been telling yourself all the way, and also the difference you can experience as a child, that your parents maybe don't have the money to afford like fancy holidays for you as a child, and then you go back, everyone is sharing their stories, and you're like, I just spent my holidays visiting my auntie in the same town, and so lots of women of color, they have different stories with different colors. And I can share one of my clients. She is six-figure owner, and her story was that I earn money but I can't use money because of the guilt she was feeling. The guilt, my father wasn't able to earn that money, so I am doing that, but I don't want to show off. My siblings are not doing that, like they are not earning as much as I do. So she, even with all that money, she was having a scarcity mindset, because there was some trauma attached to that story. There was pain attached to that story, anxiety, fear, self-doubt attached to that. Who am I to spend that money? And she spent lots of money on her children. Even with the children, she wasn't able to buy the stuff she wanted to buy, just in case, what will the parents think or say about her? But when we worked on the money trauma, she released that. And guess what? She was able to increase the income increased somehow. Even there were same clients, same everything, but she said like the money flow changed. So she started earning more than she did before. So that's the benefits of releasing that trauma.
A lot of things to unpack on what you said. First of all, thank you for sharing that, because I think this is a topic that not a lot of people are talking about, and it's huge because the real evil is not money and abundance. The real evil is poverty, because from poverty, you have so many, like challenges, and this is where you start taking the wrong decisions. With money, you have the comfort. If you're taking a bad decision, it's on you, right? You're consciously doing it. You're not in like survival mode. And as you said, we are in a very interesting situation as either first or second, or even now third generation, immigrants, where we have like the whole world is getting more and more comfortable. You have more money, you have more possibilities, more knowledge, like everything. And as you said, we are having these trauma that are in our subconscious, these stories that we built, through our childhood, that, like stories that we just saw our parents do. And thank you for sharing your father's story. Same that I had. I mean, my mom is a superhero. Like for me, she started traveling at 15 years old by herself, taking the boat from Algeria, coming to France and working the summers, to feed her family. So she's the oldest. So that's why, I mean, I've learned from her, and she's working nonstop. So I got her hardworking, values, but also the scarcity. She lives in scarcity. She doesn't enjoy the money that she has, and unfortunately, because this is how she grew, and when she tells these stories about her childhood, and when you're like coach, or like you're learning about all these mechanisms that happen in your head, you're like, oh my gosh, this is what's happening. There is a true like trauma, or like subconscious programming, let's call it like that, because it's truly like that, and happening on the back end. So that explains your results of today. So on a personal level, what I've been working on is going back to my faith. And one of the meaning, or one of the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you go back to our creator, what is it? It's the abundance, it's the creation, the expansion. So as Muslim, that's why we limit ourselves as human beings, but as Muslims, when we go and like try to reflect on these qualities and understand that the world is expanding, the universe is expanding, this is what scientists tell you, you can't fathom, what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power and possibilities, but we're part of his essence, and we have also these possibilities in our life. So the moment you kind of understand that, you try to rewrite your inner story, or what's possible for you, and reevaluating your beliefs and creating new beliefs. And I'm like money is evil, like, oh, like a lot, these are from like TV and whatever, like people that have a lot of money, they do all these weird haram stuff. So like, no. A Muslim, I wrote my, like limiting beliefs, and one of them was like, Muslims are humble, and humility was equal, like poverty, or like simplicity, or like, what I like. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. So I understand like where these like limiting beliefs comes from. And I'm like, no. Go back to the expansion, go back to the abundance. So this is what I'm pushing my, energy towards you. And slowly but surely, you start to reconnect or heal your money traumas, as you said. So I love that you're doing that. And I'm, asking people to go check out your content, because again, not a lot of people are talking about it, and we need this, this knowledge out there 100%.
Thank you so much. And I will like, I totally agree with you that like, even when we go to the religious sources, sometimes it's like, they create also money trauma, because we have heard, all of us, that the poor people, they will go into Jannah first, right? And then somehow you create this subconscious story that money is evil. But the reality is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you're grateful, I will increase. And this is something I see in the coaching industry as well, that like lots of people, we like, nowadays you can find programs with, like, promising you, hey, join my program, within 90 days you will earn 10k, 20k. And lots of like, female coaches, women of color, they believe that, oh my God, in 90 days I'm going to become a 6-figure owner, right? But the reality is, the risk is from Allah, which we totally neglect. Yes. And you think like you are in a rat race. I'm going to earn 10k within X, Y, and Z month, or X, Y, and Z days. And then you end up not doing that. And you end up actually re-traumatizing yourself by believing that I am not good enough. All the other coaches, they're doing much better than me. I'm not good enough. Then you end up comparing yourself with the others. Look, this person joined the same program, they're doing this. But the reality is, if you go to the core, who is the provider? It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is the provider. You do your best by trusting Allah. You do your best by having that tawakkul, but the reality is, what I have seen also with my own clients, that they say, I have full tawakkul, I trust in Allah. On the surface, Consciously they trust Allah, but unconsciously there is lack of trust. There is fear, there is doubt, there is no, what if Allah don't listen to me? What if Allah, Allah always tests me? So there is lack of trust in Allah that He will provide you. And when you create your big goals, becoming six-figure owners or whatever owner, seven-figure, but you don't have that belief, you know, then your values are not going to be aligned with that goals. And the values, when they are not aligned, the belief is not aligned with your goals, then it's not going to happen. And then you end up, you know, being hard on yourself even more. Look, I'm a failure. I'm not able to do that. What's wrong with me? This is happening. Look at my circumstances. So you just end up being affected. But the reality is, it's all in your unconscious mind, you know. And there is also, coming from a neuroscience of perspective, we have reactive, vector system here, back here. And it's like I often use this example. I love shoes. So every time I want to buy a new shoes, suddenly, if I say, oh, I want to buy red shoes, right? Suddenly when I'm out, I just see red shoes everywhere. Somehow, honestly, all the ladies, they are wearing red shoes. Even it's like, so I just see red shoes everywhere, right? And that's because I activated that system. But if I activated that system that I'm not good enough, everyone is doing better than me, then I will attract that to me and I will end up feeling stuck. But if I change that system and believe and have full tawakkul that whatever Allah plans for me, He is the best of planner. I'm going to give my 100% into it. I'm going to work on trusting Allah. I'm going to work on creating my dream du'as, which is aligned with my value, also aligned with my goals. I will, inshallah, then you will see the possibilities. Mm-hmm. Again, is it okay if I share one example of my,
yes,
someone
please.
I know?
Yeah.
This is a coach I know, and she had this blogs. Oh, I'm not getting any, I don't know what to do. I'm not getting any clients. I'm not being visible on the social media. I'm not doing this and that. But the reality is that people were connecting with her and saying, hey, do you want to do a workshop with me? Hey, shall we do a retreat together? Shall we do that? But she was totally ignoring that. No, nothing is happening. And she was holding herself back because I need to be X, Y, and Z before I jump on a saying, hey, let's collab about the retreat. Let's collab about this workshop or whatever it is, right? And then, but when when you coach someone, they will actually realize that, oh my God, I'm seeing the possibilities. I'm ignoring the possibilities, but now I'm seeing possibilities. So that's what happened with us. Even though we are coaches, we help people with their mindset, but sometimes we create our own blocks by ignoring what's in front of us because we are so focused on that X goal that all the other things that are in front of our place, we are just ignoring them. No.
Oof. If you okay, I think we need to listen this part like many times because you shared so many powerful sentences, as you said, risk is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And well, you like on a logical level, you understand what it means. However, do you truly believe in it? And me first, I think this is always has been like a belief for me, the possibilities, and I'm a dreamer. However, I had this fear, as you said, underneath that, like what was going on was I blocked the total surrender. So this year, it's really interesting because as you see, like these are my vision boards for this year. And the word that I choose was like opening my heart, to like change. So, but for me, what I was seeking from January this year was the total surrender, like this total surrender saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners, but truly believing that, sentence and integrating it in my daily life and making it as a guidance for me, for my decisions and all of that. Because yes, we can stay stuck into, oh, I need to build that skill, or I need to build my audience on social media, or I need to know how to sell or to master marketing. Yes, you do have that. But if you have these tools, these skills, but you don't know how to use them with the right intention, well, check your results. So I'm always about being realistic with yourself. Check your results. What is going on in your real life? And then go from that. And 100% this personal work is limited. That's why you have coaches. That's why you have teachers and all of that. So again, you don't have to do it alone. And coaching and training has real value in that 100%. So thank you for sharing. So a big piece of your work. Now I want to go back to you personally, the woman, Ambreen, because you said we can have a whole episode on your life. 100%. I believe that. Like, one episode is not enough. Like, it's your whole life. I don't know, like how many years you've been on this planet. So it's a lot. But I always start, like these podcast episodes with the struggles. So if you can share with us, 1, 2, or 3, main struggles that you've met in your life being a Muslim businesswoman owner.
Okay. I think the first thing is that I have messed up several times, right? I have messed up. So there is no a formula like, no, this is do X, Y, and Z and you will be successful. I have messed up so many times, but I have also seen the possibilities in those mess upness, right? So just to share, like, even though I was into coaching in 2012, and I was leading a team of 20 people where I was actually providing training for them how to, at that time I was working in the hospital. So I was leading a team of 20 people where I was teaching them how to communicate with the patients in the hospital, how to coach them through their pain, through their struggles. But when I started coaching back in 2016, I further certified myself. I wanted to become an online coach. I waited 1 whole year because of the self-doubt I was having. Even though I was teaching, leading a team of 20 people, but becoming online, giving myself, being vulnerable in front of audience I don't know, that was a huge step. And lots of time coaches believe that, okay, now I'm a coach. After a 1 week program, then I just need to be out there. But there is also a mindset thing that you need to work on in order to be out there. So I waited 1 whole year before I could connect with people and say, hey, I'm a coach. Even though I did all my trainings, everything I had wouldn't allow me to put myself out there. So that's one of the struggle I dealt with a whole year. I was battling myself. I was struggling to show myself out there. And when I did, I failed lots of time. I failed. And I think it's a lesson and sweetness in those feedbacks. I'm not going to say that's failure. I say they're feedbacks for me because I learned how to grow, and I can tell you that I didn't treat myself well because I struggled to be bold enough to say no to things, bold enough to say, hey, this is my price. Because when people told me, no, this is too high, I over-delivered, I gave up, And as a coach, you need to be bold enough because you need to know who you are and what you stand for. And especially being a woman of color, being a Muslim woman, there are not many out there. And those who are out there, we are keeping ourselves in that Muslim community, right? Because there is again a fear, to jumping into a non-Muslim community and saying, hey, I'm the woman of color, I'm Muslim, and I can help you, right? And another thing, that was also a huge jump for me to put myself out there and say, hey, I work with women of color. And I know, sister, being an African woman or an Asian woman or an Arab woman, we share the same things. Even though you are Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, whatever you are, but we are women together. We have experienced the same things. We have experienced being the outsider in the community, being the outsider in the society. We have experienced the stereotype people and the label people put on ourselves. And being a woman of color, and nowadays, like what I also see in the coaching industry, there is a boys club in every high-end program is dominated by the males. And women of color, they are totally kind of, yeah, I surrender to you, whatever you say, right? Where, like, I am like, why are we doing that? Why can't we say, this is my side of table, I decide, you don't need to tell me. The other day, a white guy, I was sharing, that how hard it is to be a coach, that the first 3 years of my coaching journey, I undercharged myself. I had self-doubt. And then he comments under by saying, oh, there are lots of wannabe coaches out there, and this is what I do. I help them to certify, I help them with marketing, with da-da-da, branding, da-da-da. And I was like, hey, thank you. I do exactly the same. I am a trainer of NLP. I certify people in coaching. I'm trainer of hypnotherapy. I certify people in both NLP modalities and hypnotherapy, and also timeline therapy, right? And then instead of saying something else, he's like, oh, where did you certify? Who did you certify from? And I felt straight away, would he say the same thing to a white woman? Why is he asking me? And who are you to tell me that I am not a certified? Don't you believe my word? Like this white privilege of like, I'm going to tell you how to do X, Y, and Z. And then lots of women of color, they buy into that. They will rather prefer to go to a white person and say, you know better than the black person. I'm going to go to you because of the lack of confidence, the complexity of being who you are. We buy into that because of the white privilege, right? Unconsciously into that. And we are like, oh, they know better than us, and I'm gonna go to that program. And I have seen that over and over again. Even Muslim women, they will go to a white woman, right? But what if that white woman have only 2 years experience and a Muslim, brown or black woman have 10 years of experience? Why are we doing that to us? So that's another struggle I see.
Mm-hmm.
But I have also attended really high-end, masterminds where I've seen a panel of only white people. And I'm like, where are women of color? Where are we? Why are we not presented there? Where is the woman of color? Where are we? Why are we not being there on that same panel, sharing the same table, being like, confident enough to say, hey, I totally disagree with you. I totally disagree with this fame you're putting out there and selling that, okay, or lying to people that within 90 days you will earn 10K or 20K. Yes, it happens to only 10%, but what about the 90% who are not achieving the goals? So I'm really kind of, I'm really into that, and you can feel that.
I feel the energy. I feel the energy and the message 100%. Like, where
like,
are they?
We
are here. We are here. And I love what you said, because I want to jump in on these, struggles about, women of color having struggles putting themselves out there. Listen, women in general. So in my startup last year, so I co-founded a startup and I exited at the, last year in December. And we had also a podcast. So shout out to, the Fit Fun podcast, online, all about wellness, health, and mindset. Go check it out. We talked about that. I interviewed, so she has an institution. She works with women in economics, and she's also a white woman, and she works it's like she's a minority in a huge, like industry, right? And so they make studies after studies, or like they gather information about, the status of women in these, highly qualified, positions. And yes, it's a reality. I mean, women, we struggle more. We're not less competent. Actually, we're like more competent, and I always say I have never met an incompetent woman in my life, true. And, but we had that, we never ask for a raise. We when we go for, you know, like we search for a job, we're like, this job application asks for 10 qualification. Well, I don't have 10 qualifications, I'm not going to apply. But a man will be like, oh, I do have like 3 of these qualifications, let me apply and see what happens, right? So this, we are in a very interesting situation, Ambreen, where we need to be louder than the current voices. And I love what you said, because this message needs to be heard by so many of us. And our generation is going to be the one to rewrite, you know, what our parents didn't have time to do because they needed to survive, right? So we are in a privileged situation where we can do that. So that's why coming together and like sharing these ideas, and as I said, you know, stronger together. Yes, because it's a reality. We got to be together. And I feel like because we've been brought up in the West as a minority, and every community stayed, you know, like in their place, we didn't like come together as a force, as a united force to say, like, this is our message that we want to share. We are here, we exist, we matter. And yes, we are at the same level that you, even better. Right. So I love what you said. So please continue. You know, I just wanted to jump on your idea.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I totally agree with you that we need to be bolder, we need to be louder. And also we need to focus on getting paid for what we are worth, right? We don't need to kind of undercharge ourselves. I think one of the things I did is that I undercharged myself 3 years, right? And also because I didn't have that belief in myself, you know. And I also like, I think I also want to share that I also worked for someone 3 years for free, even though I was getting access to high-end program. But it's also now when I reflect back, and I'm like, wow, I did that. I worked free 3 years to build someone else's business, right? And as women of color, how many times do we not go into that trap that, oh my God, I'm getting this access for this program for free, so let me give my hours. And then we are kind of, you know, undervaluing ourselves and our time. So my like biggest learning from that experience is that why did I allow myself to undercharge myself? Why did I say yes to certain amount an hour? Because that's not who I am. That's not like, no, my time is not worth that much, right? So it's all about raising the standards. It's all about raising your prices. And if people don't buy from you, totally fine, because not everyone is going to buy from you. And I think as a woman of color, we also have this people pleasing habits that we end up pleasing our prospects, our clients, because we have this good girl syndrome. It's okay to be a good girl, but it's not okay when you are like, you know, when you are 30 years old but you're still behaving like a 7 years old girl. It's not okay. It's time to raise your awareness that you are the woman you always wanted to be. So why are you leading by a 7 years old inner child, right? So it's all about doing that inner work, and also reminding yourself who you are, embracing your past rather than neglecting it and regret. There are lots of things I regret in my life. Oh, I should have just done this, that, this, blah, blah, blah. But I actually embrace those learnings, right? Okay, I was in that situation. What are the learnings, right? Why, like, no, and also having this, like, if you're going back to tawakkul, having that tawakkul that Allah placed me in that situation to teach me something. I'm not going to go into my victim and blame Allah. Why did you do that? You know that all my struggles. So why did you do this for me? But it's all about embracing that and saying, okay, it was a learning, a growth pain I went through. It was a breakthrough that I'm having. And also asking yourself, what's behind that pain? You know, I always ask myself every time I had this, like, you know, growth, I was coaching myself, what's behind this pain? Okay, the pain is about I'm not good enough. And then I used to ask myself, okay, where else in my life did I felt I'm not good enough? Most of the time it took me back to the childhood when a teacher told me you are not good enough. when a teacher told me, oh, you are so ambitious, but you're going to be forced married, aren't you? Right? So that pain, I'm not good enough, went back to my childhood, back to when I was teenager, back in college, when people were telling me that I'm not good enough because of X, Y, and Z. You know, so it's all about, embracing that pain, and also asking yourself, getting to know yourself on a deeper level. Who am I, behind that pain? Who am I behind that mask I put in front of everyone else? Be vulnerable. And it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay, even though the pain is uncomfortable. No one wants to experience that. But if you really want a true growth, you face that pain, you experience that, and you will see the wonder out of that moment.
So if I just do a recap, of your struggles and the solutions that you share to make it, practical for people, and to get, something out of this that they can experiment, in their own life. Because I always say, listen, you don't have to apply or to ask yourself all these questions. Start with one, right? Start with one and make it a practice in your life and see what happens. So, the struggles that I've wrote down, because I took a lot of notes, is, I have like messed up a lot. And you know what, messing up and failures, or as you call them, feedback, is part of life. Okay, they're here. This is not something that you can avoid if you want to move forward in your life and actually do something that you've never done before. Well, you know what happens when you do something for the first time. Okay, usually it doesn't go right. You're not at a master level. So you got to be real with yourself and understand that this is part of the process. Because something that my mentor said and stuck with me was, life is not a journey. Life is a process. And once you understand that, you're like, oh, well, I do have power because I'm not wandering in the wilderness. I am building processes to get to the results that I want. So when you understand that, you're like, okay, well, actually, I'm in control. And having these feedbacks is the only way, forward. Because you got to, correct yourself to get to that mastery level, to get, to the results that you want. Putting yourselves out there. So most of the people are not extroverts like me. I'm an extrovert. We are like a minority of the population. Most of the people are introverts. So welcome to, the club if you're like afraid of putting yourself out there. I like to be under the light and so this is not the norm. Okay. So you got to struggle with, putting yourself out there if you're introvert and you're having all these insecurities. And as women, we have so many, like physical or whatever, they're still here, it's a reality, but you got to work on them. And asking yourself questions is so powerful. As you said, sharing that as a solution. Where does this come from? If you're starting to go to the primary causes of these, beliefs, you can change them. Because awareness is the first step. Because you don't know what you don't know. So the awareness is the first step. You got to know oh, it's there. This is how I'm thinking, so you can change it. And undercharging yourself, again, is it's so common, and I do it, and I think this is a women thing where feel like we lack experience, we lack confidence, we oh no, I want to learn more, I want to be we equate having more experience with more confidence. And it does actually happen like that, because you have the confidence competence loops that is going on, where the more you have competence in one thing, the more confidence you gain. But again, it's what is my money story here? And I love that people can go back to the first part of this episode and re-listen to it and say, I really have a problem with money. And this is the thing that I told myself, I am very far, very, very, very far of where I want to go and how much I earn. Okay. So, and I know on the psychological level, this is something that I had to work on, and I'm still working on it 100% this year. So if you're in this case, listen, we are so many women going through that. And I love that you shared, clients' experiences, you shared your own experiences, it's your reality. But guess what? You can do something about it,
Yeah, 100%.
so you shared many solutions. Why did I allow myself to do that? I think that's a powerful question that I wrote down. Why did I allow myself to do that, like to be like that? What happened? What was I thinking or feeling at that time? The people pleaser syndrome, I mean, this is a huge one for me, because I've seen so many women in my life, starting with my mom being a huge people pleaser and always saying yes, and understand for her it was like, oh, like my purpose is just to sacrifice myself,
Yeah.
and like say yes to everything.
Yeah. And I think this is something everyone can relate to. Like, for a couple of years back, if someone was supposed to give the number one people pleaser award to anyone, it would be me. Honestly, I was the worst of worst people pleaser. I would sacrifice myself, I would stretch my boundaries, and I would do everything to please the person in front of me. That I didn't set the boundaries for myself. And when I learned to say no, it was difficult as hell. I was like, oh my God, I could feel the discomfort in every cell of my body. And I could, again, like, when I said no, I could feel the guilt coming up, the shame coming up. What will that person think or say about me? So there were lots of negative emotions that were going on within me. But again, heal that part of yourself and say, look, the guilt, and also what I've seen is the guilt is the biggest block. When you remove that guilt, your blocks, like, you will open your narrow pathways to attract more abundance in your life. And lots of time, women of color, they they take action from a place of guilt. Hey, I'm building my business, I'm ignoring my child. Then the mom guilt come up. I'm doing this, and the guilt come up. I'm not looking after my parents. I'm not looking after my husband. So there are lots of guilt they create within themselves. And that guilt has effect over all your body cells and also create the blocks within you that you don't have this energy flow. And money is energy. So you create that blocks by having this guilt. And it's therefore, like, I feel like it's so important to work on your, five negative emotions, that's sadness, anger, because you get angry at yourself. Why am I doing this? And then there are frustration coming up, fear coming up, and guilt. Guilt is a huge one. So it's all about, like, letting go of that and clearing yourself up to bring in the new energy within. And when you do that, you will be able, and again, the people pleasing thing is a generational thing. Centuries told that they have to put themselves back, they have to put everyone else in front of them, before them. So this is we believe that story. So it's important to work on that and let go of those stories as well. Because I think I want to share something here, that our mind is full. A lot of women, we human being are ashraful makhluk. The men are ashraful makhlukat. He said humans are ashraful makhlukat, and we are human. So we women, we are ashraful makhlukat. And also it says that women are the madrasa of the children. So we are the madrasa of the generations. So but if the madrasa is weak in the foundation, then what happens? We will pass that on to our daughters, to our sons, and then the trauma, the generation things go over and over again. And it's time that women of color, they break that chain, that they increase their prices, they become more bolder, they become more louder, they become more visible in this business space. But also, believe me, when you do that, it will also have a positive effect on your life, because you will see that you're stepping up for yourself. It's like when you have time to love yourself. And again, I was thinking about that the other day. There are lots of female coaches who are talking about self-love, but are they really giving self-love to themselves? They're teaching everyone else self-love is important, self-love is important. And then I see the same woman in my program or as a client, that there is no self-love at all. She's sacrificing herself for her family, for her siblings, for everyone else. But then on the social media, she's preaching about self-love. But then I'm like, hey, woman, where is self-love when it comes to you? Then it's like, oh, yeah, yeah, but no excuses. It's time that you focus on yourself, because when you focus self-love, you will set boundaries. You will set boundaries with your business. Yes, you might set boundaries with your family and think like, hey, this is self-love, but also with business. I know business is hard. I know entrepreneurs, they had a dream. They don't want to work 9 to 5, but then they end up working from 9 to 10. Where is the freedom you're talking about? Where is the self-love you're talking about? So have boundaries with business. When you are able to create that boundaries with your business, then that's self-love, because you are going to talk about, you're going to walk in self-love. And if you don't do that, believe me, people will sense that. They will feel the energy. Talk about lots of time that, okay, you're connecting with people, you're connecting with your prospect, but if you don't have that energy, their prospect, they can sense that energy, because we are human beings. It's like going into the room, you sense something has happened here. I just feel of negative energy, or I feel positive energy, and you get that positive vibe and you get high, right? Same in the messenger. You either feel the energy, or you either
Yeah.
feel like, oh my god, this is, you know not true.
I mean, 100% again, like such a huge piece to, to finish our conversation, and you got to come back 100% for another episode of the like season 2 that we'll be launching inshallah at the end of the year, where I'm going to focus more on the skill set, for being, that like powerful, business women that we can all be, right? So that's why like sharing, the different processes of, everybody is going to be helpful, like what work, what doesn't. And again, there is no one way. Got to find yours that you connect with, and of course, go for coaching, go for mentorship, because these are huge. Because I mean, going by yourself is limiting. You can move, like you can move forward, but at some point you're gonna be like, oops, I can't do it alone. That's why, all the sports team have coaches, their coaches don't have to know what, they don't have to know like how to play or like be an expert player to be great coaches. And we have so many, like examples. So Ambreen, coming to an end of this conversation, I want to know where people can, find you and connect with you. And if you have anything, coming up that you want to share, please do it.
Oh, thank you. So you guys can find me on Instagram as Ambreen Pervez. If you search, you can find me on Facebook. And my upcoming program is Bold, Visible, and Paid. And the whole program is actually based on my own journey, the mistakes I did. And so in that program, what's different is not just marketing and sales program, it's also a breakthrough program, because lots of coaches, when they start, they're just into marketing and sales, and then they forget that they also need to transform their client. So in my program, it's also like you will be certified as a coach, as an NLP practitioner, as hypnotherapy practitioner, as timeline therapy practitioner. So you will be able to learn the skills to take your clients deeper. And also you will able to have one-to-one coaching sessions with me. So you will be able to remove whatever blocks you are having, and there is a group coaching program. So there will be two calls during the week, but you will also have access to me throughout the week if you feel stuck, because I feel lots of programs, they don't provide this support. You can use join a high-end program, but there is no one-to-one personal support. So this is why I created Bold, Visible, and Paid for women of color, because I believe that's what we need. We need to be bolder, we need to be visible, and we need to get paid for what we are worth. So if you're interested, then please reach out and let's have a chat. And thank you so much, Fatma, for inviting me. I love this conversation. I just really enjoyed it because it's just talking to someone in the same thing who want the visibility of Muslim women, which is much needed.
Mhm.
So may Allah reward you for your hard work, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh, I mean, thank you. I mean, same for you again. Um, as a coach, I always say, let me be your warrior, because I know that not everybody is able to go in the front lines, but I'm fighting by your side, but I'm not going to fight for you, so I think that's super important, because I want everybody to be empowered. For whatever you want to do. I mean, you don't have to do like to be like a 1 million or like 2 million, or like, if you want to do it for your own freedom, as you said, where you want to be comfortable, that's amazing. But you got to be true to yourself, like understand what you need, who you are, and then, let the people get the best out of you. Because when you are in survival mode, and I saw it, you can't give your best. You can't, because, you're not living it. So, and at this day and age in 2021 and the coming years, even with COVID, even with the whole situation, but globally, we're like more comfortable. We have more information to enable us to take the right decisions, whether it is on a spiritual level or on a personal level, or even professional level. So as you said, there are no excuses. And I love, because again, it's one of my motto, like no excuses. It's truly a personal choice. So I'm excited for your program, and I'm going to share all the links and invite everybody to, go check your work out. I love that you're a lot active on Instagram. So this is really, like, I love it. It's really funny, the reels and all of that. So we need to rewrite the story of what a woman of color impact is on our society, and how we can, build the trust, be clear about our value and what the value is for, other people in our ummah to engage with us, and to build that network of like Muslim businesses. Because, your success is my success at the end of the day, like if you truly understand what Islam is. So and I'm so glad that we have social media and on the internet to be able to connect with you, even if we're like in two different countries. So as you said, may Allah, gives you whatever, you need and you ask for. And I'm excited for, your future, and what we can do together 100%. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here.